everyone. Welcome to another episode of Leaders. Leaders podcast is where I get the opportunity to speak to some of the most influential leaders in the investigation and intelligence space. I've spoken to many from around the world, and today I'm joined by my good friend and colleague, Jean Schmitt, who's based in Paris, in France. He's been an investigator since 1989. I'm looking forward to this conversation with Jean. So, Jean, welcome to Leaders. It's a pleasure to have you on the show. Just give us a short description of your background and your career to date.
Thank you very much, Mike. Glad to be here with you today. So, as you said, I've been in the business more than 30 years now. That's about all I did in my life, just private investigations. I was involved in the French Association and became the president of it a while ago. Still involved as a board member and an IKD delegate. And I'm glad I joined the World Association of Detectives more than 25 years ago now. Eventually became involved as a board member and officer. And I've had a wonderful experience with this association in particular.
Brilliant. Thanks, John. And you're based in central Paris, right?
That's right. For 20 years and more, downtown Paris. But we cover all France, of course.
Fantastic. Okay, I want to get into your leadership skills and understand what made you decide to get involved in the associations. I mean, the associations play an integral part for investigators, both locally and globally. But what was the decision for you to start networking and getting involved in associations, maybe the French and some of the others that you're part of?
Well, I started to get involved with the French Association in the late 90s, and I realized there was kind of a misunderstanding of the transformation and the power of digital networking at the time by the French professional. So I started to build up a small PI network online. And with the evolving technology, the group got bigger and bigger, and finally came to the point where it was an opportunity to merge with the older association. And from this date on, this new association became a reference in the PI business in France and got involved into the regulation process that was going on at the time.
And that's SNARP, right? SNARP?
That's correct. That's the main, the oldest, the largest, and the most representative association of private investigators in France.
And then you made the decision to run for the board and to be voted in as president. Talk to me about what was going through your mind. You're trying to run a business. You're trying to grow your business at the time in France, right, which is a competitive market as well. How did you get pulled into that, and why did you do that?
Well, we saw the opportunity to be part of the licensing process that was really starting. So many professionals thought this was a crucial moment for the profession, and that's what made me go into this. I was eager to get this profession more professional and well recognized, which was not really the case in France at this time. So it was a lot of work to teach the regulators how this business really works, and our methodology, our scope of work, and what we really do.
And how has that evolved then with the licensing in France now, in terms of the regulatory bodies and the officials? Are they accepting the industry, or how is that relationship?
It's sometimes difficult because there's a high turnover in the regulatory bodies. So each time, we have to reintroduce ourselves and explain again from the beginning. But because of this, the strict regulations concerning the access to the profession, the training, and there are several licenses needed to run a PI firm in France. It became obvious that we had to speak with the regulators the more we could. So we did a lot of work of explaining, and we had a little influence on some of the decisions that were taken. I think the main thing was to make the regulator realize the scope of work was much larger than what they expected in the beginning. And this took a lot of time, but we went through a process, and now we have a definite legal frame that we can work on.
So, in the UK, we don't have investigation licenses as such. So we're self-regulated, and there's lots of conversation going on about licensing, roles, regulation. Now you guys have been through it in France. Does it give you a clearer, defined working path? Does it make things easier with the licensing for the industry? What are your thoughts on that?
Like in everything, there are ups and downs. So in some ways, control is higher. The pressure on the investigative work is higher as well. You have to be very careful about every regulations and laws and privacy laws. So it's kind of more difficult to work. But on the other hand, you gain a lot of recognition, and you can tell on an everyday basis when you reach administration bodies, police services, or hospitals, or whatever kind of interlocutors you can get, that it's much easier than it used to, because the profession is now starting to get known a little bit. People know we work for insurances, banks, and different bodies. So the working experience and the tools we have are better than they used to. So in the end, I think it's a positive direction.
And what about the public and private synergy between, say, the authorities and private sector investigators? What is that like in France?
It's getting better, probably because of the regulations, and the public markets are starting to open to private investigators. We see financial institutions, we see city town halls and other public bodies that come to investigators for assignments, which is fairly new. Very recently, a main financial institution went for a bill of tender for background checks in high volume that was directed to private investigators, and that was a public request. This is quite new, and this is going toward a positive way for us.
That's fantastic. And the authorities accept your reports? For example, like if you had a criminal case or a fraud case, could you present those files to the police and they would take action? Or is that relationship still not, is there still not that type of synergy?
Collaboration is getting much better as well. With justice, it has been in the past, but it's improving. And with police, we have some kind of new relation where we sometimes hand information to them, and they accept it, they welcome it. There has been several cases with French investigators and myself as well, where we could present some evidence to the police that they, of course, rechecked, but took the file to prosecution and to justice. So there is a better communication between police and private investigators. Everyone knows where they stand. Of course, there's no information communication in any way. But when investigators do have evidence on a case, on a criminal case, they are likely to share it with the police force in France.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I've spoken to many industry leaders, and it's strange how different jurisdictions have different processes, especially with licensing and without licensing. And there are some jurisdictions, the UK being one of them, where the authorities, the police, they're stretched, right? There's sometimes they can't investigate every single incident, like fraud, for example, people being ripped off online or what have you know. Maybe they haven't got the resources to allocate. And then with that, there's lots of skills in the private sector that can help. So having this synergy, I think, is something we should work towards. And it's interesting. I have some colleagues in the US who have a completely different approach in terms of synergy with the authorities, a lot more open. And then you come to Europe and the sort of East, and it's closed down. Let's go on back to the associations, Jean. So you had your journey with SNUP. You're still a member. You're still active. Why go global? What was the thoughts behind that? Why go into global associations? And talk to me a little bit about why you did that. What the benefits were for you as an investigator based in France.
I've always been keen to exchange and to reach international colleagues and clients. So at the time, I pushed the French Association to join the IKD, the European Federation. And myself, I joined the International Association and just by willing to expand my network internationally and get contacted with other professionals in the world. In France, we're very interested by the status and the reputation of the profession in Anglo-Saxon countries, UK, USA, and other countries where the profession is totally known and accepted. We came from a long path where we were known as working for domestic cases on divorce, shadowing the husband going to party. So it was a long journey, and we had to get inspiration from international colleague, get this dimension of that was starting in France regarding corporate intelligence, fraud investigation, and all the new business that has been brought up to us in the 20 last years. So that's why I joined the International Association. And then I felt it would be a benefit for the French Association to be linked to International Association. So that's why I kept pushing for the IKD adhesion, and also try to have some French colleagues join the W.A.D, which was not an easy thing to do, mainly because of the language barrier. That's all. But a few years back, French investigator used to be a little low in English. It's getting better too. The new generation is speaking good English now.
Yeah, fantastic. So, the World Association of Detectives, how did that change your business?
Drastically. From the beginning, you reach a global audience of private investigator, and you can, most important, you can market this exceptional competence to your clients. Mm-hmm. And I can tell you that the first time I saw the face of my client, when I told them I could at the same time run a due diligence in Hong Kong and find a lost person in South America, you feel, you can tell that your client are impressed. So that's the main asset. Also, of course, the education. You learn so much about how it goes in other countries. How do professionals run this type or another type of investigation, what tool they use and how they work. This gives you a great asset also to explain your client what you can do, how you can do it, and where you can do it.
Yeah, completely. And then you took the step forward, jumped on the board, and put yourself up for election. What was going through your mind, John Schmitt? 5-year commitment through the chairs, 2 countries a year, 2 meetings a year, anywhere around the world. Not only is it a financial commitment, it's time as well, right? There's a lot of time involved, not only going to the meetings, but the work you do when you're not at the meetings in between it. What was going through your mind? Talk to me a little bit about those decisions and how that changed you.
It took me a very long time to get involved. I've been a member since 1999. So I made the decision fairly recently. And I was thinking about all the incredible personalities I met in W.A.D that did like me, got involved, became board members, and decided to go for an officer position. And I have a lot of respect for some of those mentors I met in these days and along my journey in W.A.D.
Yeah.
And so just by respect and the feeling of imitation, just decided to go through the steps.
And how was your journey? What did you learn?
Oh, it's a great experience. You will always receive more than you give, because you meet with very interesting people, and your personal life gets enriched to a point not thought about before joining. The fact of joining this association and representing your country in a way is also a thing you can be proud of, and it gives you a sense of responsibility and fairness and legitimacy that is also an asset in your business, in your everyday business.
Yeah, completely. The W.A.D will be celebrating its centennial this year in September from the 2nd to the 7th at the Drake Hotel. That's 100 years of association that the association has been around, which is a huge achievement. It's the largest and oldest association of its kind in the world. And we are looking forward to celebrating with investigators, security professionals, intelligence guys from all over the world will congregate in Chicago. So we're looking forward to that. How do you see the industry change, Jean? Because it's changed a lot since you started, right? It's changed a lot. You know, I've been doing this nearly 30 years as well, and it's really changed. And how do you see this going? Where are we heading with this, the way we do private sector investigation and intelligence work?
Yeah, as you say, it's an ever-evolving profession, and that's part of the interest, because you have to learn new techniques, you have to adapt to new terms, and this is part of the fun, I would say. I think, right now we have a lot of challenges ahead. I would say the two main ones for investigators are first of all, the legal risk. You have to be more and more cautious about what you do and how you do it, and to who you provide the information to. This is something really important. And we'll see how it goes, because the legislation is evolving, the court decisions are as well. We'll see how it goes, but we have to remain very focused on this to make sure we work the proper way. Very recently in France, we had a court decision that may become a case court in the coming years, regarding the presentation of evidence and the demonstration of evidence in court. And probably the rules will be much easier and favorable for investigators in the future regarding the explanation as to where the evidence comes from. In criminal court, it might be a very good news that this type of information will not be requested by the courts anymore. We'll see how it goes, but there are ways to be cautious, and there's also ways to be hopeful. We'll see. And I would say the main challenge to come is the AI revolution that is going on. I think it will be very short before the IA provides background reports better than any OSINT specialist in the world. It will be soon to come. So this is a big challenge, because just collecting open information will probably not be a way to survive in the coming world. So we'll need to add an added value to those reports, find a way to, with human resource or other resources, to find a way to enhance those type of reports. Otherwise, we will lose part of our market for sure.
Completely agreed with you. The AI threat, as we say, is to embrace it as an investigator and use it to your advantage. I'm finding some of the younger guys coming in trying to solve cases from their desk and forgetting or not using older techniques like going out on the ground and interviewing, talking, making inquiries. That balance, I think we are, as historically it was one-sided, lots of field work, lots of inquiries, minimum database stuff or an open source intelligence stuff. Now that shift is changing where we're doing most of it from our desks and small inquiry work outside. This is dangerous. So you're right. We need to constantly keep evolving. What about the new guys coming in, Jean, the new younger investigators in France? What type of advice would you give those guys coming into the business?
I would really tell them to join the association, because this is really the way they're gonna understand the true nature and the true largeness of this work. And any guy with any diploma or a very well-educated person will miss part of it if he doesn't reach colleagues and discuss about the work. It's like in any profession. There's part of it which is in-house, you will not find in books. And the contact with the professional investigators, experienced ones and competent ones, because this is mostly what you meet in association, rarely the bad ones, they don't want to join. So all this will bring you much more than any training.
That's real sound advice there. You're right. Whatever you learn through licensing, through training, through online learning, through classroom work, the added value of meeting colleagues that are actually working in the field, other leaders, mentors, people in associations that have been there, seen it, and probably done most of it. Those guys are the ones that will guide the next generation through as well. And that's exactly what Leaders Podcast is for. It's speaking to industry leaders, getting their insights, their knowledge, their understanding, and their view in terms of how the industry is evolving and how it's changed and where we're heading. John, what makes a strong leader?
I think it's perseverance. I don't know if the term is right in English.
Yes.
I would say, you need to stay focused on your job, and I know it's time consuming. It's quite a commitment to start a career in this industry, but it's very rewarding. You have the clients' thanks. You learn a lot of information. You end up being busy in various social classes and political spheres. So it's an interesting journey for any person, I would say.
Fantastic, Jean Schmitt. And what about, lastly, what qualities do you look for in an investigator if you were to instruct someone in a different jurisdiction? What's your, before you look to do some business or do some work with someone that you don't know, what do you look for? How do you make sure you're choosing the right help?
Well, it's sometimes very uneasy. That's why these associations help a lot. Because first of all, you're going to check if the guy is truly registered. You're going to try to see if anyone gives you an advice. But in the end, if you see that the colleague is involved in several associations, he has been for a long time, it's really a guarantee. It's really a guarantee because you know that he can't behave like a newcomer or someone, or a crook. He has to. He won't hold his reputation for long if he doesn't work properly. So when I have no clues about the colleague, this is what I refer to in the first place. I check if he's involved in any association. I try to figure out if he is trying to giving some of his time to improve his business.
And if there's no connections there, do you stay away? What's your philosophy?
I would ask precise questions regarding the local legislation, or see how tell him how he handles the case. Ask him to give me a little explanation about how he's going to handle things. And if it suits me, if it looks professional enough, I'll probably try it if there's no other options. But really, I would choose someone who's a member as a first choice.
Fantastic, Jean Schmitt. Thank you for your time today and to sharing your knowledge, your insights, and your journey with the French Association, the W.A.D, and the work you do in France and all around the world. Jean Schmitt's details are coming up on the screen now. Here's his contact details if you need to reach out to Jean Schmitt. Once again, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure speaking to you. You're listening to Leaders Podcast.